This is part two, how the male mind works. Let's take a look at the male mind and how a working knowledge of it can help you get in touch with your true irresistible self. Today, we're going to talk about how men really feel about women and dating, women and relationships, and whether all those male female stereotypes are actually true. First of all, let's deal with stereotypes and how they can actually harm your relationships with men. There are a lot of women walking around there today who have, on some level, bought into the idea that men are so and so. Let me give you a few examples. Men are crap. Men rule the world. Men just want sex. All the good men are taken. These are all stereotypes, and when you buy into them, you blind yourself to the near infinite number of rich, satisfying possibilities that actually exist out there right now for you to enjoy. Not only because your beliefs, to a large extent, form self-fulfilling prophecies in your own life, but also because men can often sense when a woman is harboring a bitter and frustrated stereotype about men. And to a quality guy, that's pretty repulsive. Let's deal with this one thing at a time. If you've bought into idea that say men just want sex, it's not hard for you to create that prophecy for real in your own life. Example: I was watching the movie Closer recently. In it, there is a scene near the beginning where Julia Roberts' character has just kissed Jude Law's character. During the makeout session, she asks him if he's living with his girlfriend. He says that she is. Julia Roberts then says to Jude Law, "Men are crap." He smirks at her and says, "All the same though." She says, "They're still crap." For those of you who haven't seen the movie Run, Don't Walk, to the store, rent it and watch it tonight. I'm not kidding. For those of you who have seen it, you'll know exactly which scene I'm talking about. Now, it's true that Jude Law's character may be crap, being a cheater who just made out with Julia despite already having a live-in girlfriend. But Julia Roberts' character knew that he had a girlfriend when she kissed him, and yet she still went ahead and kissed him. Why? Because she already believes that men are crap. She believes on some level that there are no other options out there for her. This belief frees her in some way to make out with him, even though she knows he's taken. And of course, acting on that belief just proves to her again that it's true. She's creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that all men in her life are crap by believing that stereotype, acting accordingly, and then buying into it when things turn out unhappily as she expected, instead of using some self-awareness and realizing that it's her own belief in that part that leads her to become involved with those crap men. So reason one, buying into stereotypes can influence you unknowingly to cause those ugly beliefs to actually manifest themselves in your life. You are creating your own reality. Reason number two, women who believe bitter stereotypes about men have a certain air about them. Their actions and reactions are tainted with that particular belief, and it's not hard to pick up on. Men, of course, are not drawn to this quality. Think about it this way. Imagine if you were spending time with a man and you came to realize that he believed that women were only good for sex, or that men are smarter than women. It wouldn't be too hard to figure out that's how he felt. Those beliefs would flavor most of his actions towards you. Everything from how he spoke to you, to know how he looked at you, to how he introduced you to his friends would scream contempt. And I'd bet money right here and now that you wouldn't be interested in getting to know this guy any better once you knew where he was coming from. You'd hightail it out of there. The problem with basing your beliefs on stereotypes is that they poison your ability to actually see what's happening around you and to act appropriately. They're a form of self-fulfilling prophecy, actually drawing people and situations to you which uphold your wrong and limiting beliefs. They repel quality men and relationships from you. If you want to create fantastic, enchanting, magical relationships, you got to get interested in what's really going on. And that means you've got to get skeptical of yourself, start looking inside your own head at what your motivations are. What do you really think about men? Could it be affecting the way you act around them? Of course, yesterday I said you don't need to understand men fully in order to attract them. And now I'm saying you need to deepen your understanding of what's really going on. Let me explain the difference. Embracing masculine mystique and burying your head into the sand are two completely different things. You are probably never going to completely understand men, but if you can at least understand why men are the way they are in certain situations, your path to true love is going to be a lot smoother than it otherwise would be. Not understanding men 100% and bowing out by accepting stereotypes are not the same thing. Being realistic about your limitations and being ignorant are not the same thing as all. Here's the truth. Figuring out the real, honest mechanics of masculine behavior, including its origins, is one of the best things you can do to set yourself up for success in dating game and to avoid headache and heartache. And that begs the question, are men really all that different to us? And if so, how? This used to be a topic of so many pretty hot debate at one time and not that long ago. It was extremely fashionable and correct to believe that men and women were equal in all things, that our only differences lay in our physical typography. Now then, that theory's been blown right out of the water. Now we know that the male brain is actually extremely different from the female brain. And as a result, everything about how men operate, their values, their communication, their basic skills are different too. Men's brain contains approximately 6.5 times the amount of gray matter, the stuff needed for logic, maths, and the processing of facts, than women. On the other hand, women's brains have 10 times as much white matter needed for language skills, communication, and emotional fluency as men do. To give you an idea of why this is, and hence why we are the way we are and they are the way they are, let's take a quick look at some background. I'm not an anthropologist, but I'll just give you the basics. Some researchers believe it's because human evolution has naturally created two different types of brains, which are both equally intelligent, just in different areas. In prehistoric times, for example, men were the hunters. As a result of this, they developed hunting brains, brains that are good at assessing physical situations, calculating speeds and angles, tracking and mapping the surrounding environment. See how it ties with the modern men's preposition with video games, sports, games, golf, and any pastime that requires spatial and logical ability. Women, on the other hand, were believed by many to be gatherers and nurturers. They spent their time raising children, communication, language skills, and gathering berries and plants. So we developed nurturing brains, brains with bigger communication centers, with bigger emotional memory centers, and a greater ability to understand and reference body language and cues in other people. Our behavior as men and women is dictated by our brains, and when you consider that each gender's brain is structured so incredibly different, does it really come as a surprise that our behaviors are so divergent? Of course, obviously, this is all varies on a case-to-case basis. Not all men are skilled at logic and math, just not all women are skilled at emotional fluency and communication. But as a general rule, those are the things that each gender tends to be wired to do from birth. So does this mean that it's right to embrace stereotypes? No, this should just give you a better idea of what the real story is as far as the male and female brain is concerned. That information can come in pretty handy when it comes to making appropriate choices where men and relationships are concerned. Let me give you a few examples of what I mean. Following are 9 tips for creating easy and effective communications with men, guaranteed to smooth the path of true love. Don't Number 1, don't be wishy-washy. Once again, number 1, don't be wishy-washy. Have you ever noticed that in conversations there's usually a tone setter and a reactor? The tone setter is the one who sets the tone and the mood. they create reactions in the other person through their use of language, conversational topic, and physical cues. They may be making jokes but not laughing at them. They may be telling stories but refraining from responding to them. The other person is the reactor. They're the one who reacts more. They're usually laughing more than the other person and responding appropriately to the conversation of the first person. In a lot of male and female interactions, the male is the one who sets the tone, and the woman is the one who reacts to that leadership. All of this behavior is usually based in insecurity, and as a result, turns a lot of guys off. Think about it. For a lot of women, it feels more natural to not rock the boat and not risk disapproval by actually having an opinion and stating it. But I've got to say that most quality men are used to women like this and they're bored by them. Men often want more of a challenge. That's not to say that rudeness, absurdness is desirable, but it is definitely desirable when you're able to have your own mind and speak it too. Number two, don't expect men to get it by themselves all the time. Many women tend to be the bush beaters. They got coy, indirect, and drop hints about stuff. Then they get resentful and crappy when those hints don't get taken or acted upon. Here's an idea for lasting happiness on both sides. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Ever been around one of those people couples where the girl's always saying that something's okay, but you can tell deep down that that is not? I used to have friends who did that, and always made for a very uncomfortable atmosphere when they'd hang out with them and their boyfriends. They'd too be nervous to say what they really felt, so instead will say that something was fine when clearly it wasn't. And then when their boyfriend went ahead and did it, they'd get grumpy and take out their mood on them by pouting, playing for attention, and much more. This is totally demeaning and not attractive. How about this? How about getting interested in actually being straight up about what you think as and when you form that opinion? If you can master the art of easygoing directness, you instantly skyrocket your value in any social setting. Speaking your mind tactfully is something that not a lot of people feel capable of doing. And as a result, you instantly seem classy, in control, and real. Number three, know when to let him chill out. Did you know that as women, our brains literally never disengage? Studies in neurobiology have shown that women's brains never disengage. The corpus calcium that connects the two sides of our brain is different to men's, and the result is the left and the right sides of the brain are constantly interacting, communicating, parsing meaning from the world. Even when we're asleep, we're still working with our brains. Guys do not do this. Their brains can turn off. This may be why men like to unwind by disengaging the brain and just thinking about nothing for a while. Here is how this can apply to your life. Have you ever noticed that when women come from home a hard day at work, they want to talk about all the stuff that happened to them that day? Generally, discussing the day helps us to relax, put things in perspective, and get into recreation time mode. Men, on the other hand, often prefer a more meditative approach. Lots of guys like to come home, think, and more importantly, talk about nothing much for a while. If you want instantly improve relations with the guy in your life, try giving him at least space, half an hour silent, unbothered, fire gazing time without interruption. Not to call too heavily on history to explain the current events, but in prehistoric times, men did chill out and got perspective literally by gazing into the fire. They would sit there in silence, enjoying the flickering light and the red glow from the embers, and would remain there until they felt ready to re enter the hive of the community. In modern times, men do this by reading the newspaper, watching the news on TV, browsing online, or just pottering around for a while. Instead, we recognize that they are fire gazing and allow them to continue until they feel ready to rejoin the conversation of their own accord. Most guys would appreciate it more than they can if you would just allow them the half hour or so of quiet time when come home at the end of the day, before asking questions, requesting help with the dinner, or talking to them about your day. This is something that a lot of women struggle with because it seems so unnatural to us. So here's a suggestion. Don't knock it till you've tried it. Give him a kiss when he walks in the door and then go down your own and go do your own thing until he comes to you. Number 4, pick your we need to talk times well. It just makes sense that if you have something you want to talk about, that you choose a good time to do it. Regardless, lots of women are driven by their emotions when choosing a talking time and end up picking a bad time that virtually guarantees frustration for both parties. For example, a lot of women bring up issues when they're in the car with him driving. This is often because there's a fair amount of quiet time for the passenger when traveling together. This is when women often have aha moments when they just feel compelled to bring up something. Unfortunately, this often come with very moment that he's trying to navigate an 8-lane spaghetti junction of an intersection, and as a result, the openness greeted with annoyance or silence. Other classic times that well-meaning women tend to bring up issues when the news is on, when he's reading, when he's just got home on a tearful 2 a.m. phone call in bed. If you got something important to discuss, choose your time well. Wait till you're both feeling relaxed, in a good mood. Wait till he's not busy doing something else, and then bring it up. A quick note, try your hardest to never talk about difficult or potentially difficult subjects in bed. The bed that you share with should be a safe place where only sex, sleeping, and other fun stuff happens. If you want to keep bedtime as cozy time, steer away from the difficult conversations when it. And don't use phrases like we need to talk. Number 5. Understanding wins over condemnation every time. Obviously, there are going to be times when a guy's behavior leaves you feeling confused. But here is what I recommend. Don't fly off that bad until you know better. Try giving him the benefit of the doubt. There are a whole bunch of reasons as to why this is the better alternative. First of all, when your guy feels like you trust and believe in him, he feels energized and motivated to do the right thing by you. Your belief in him makes him want to justify that belief. On the other hand, beat him down with enough doubt and leaping to the wrong conclusion activity, and he's going to end up feeling mistrusted, childish, and resentful. You can guess what the result of this is. Second, sometimes a guy will actually deliberately test you to see how you'll react. This is often to see how much control he's got over you and how upset you'll get about something he's done. If you get out of control, upset about something he's done, he's going to know exactly where he's got you. That's not a good thing. He now knows exactly what he has to do to get a reaction out of you. Did you know that some guys misbehave around their girlfriend just because her reaction makes him feel more cared for? Third, it's about respect. You respect for yourself, and he respects for you. Think about this way. If you're interested in top quality relationships, you actually got to be worthy of having one. This isn't something you can fake your way into. The kind of guy that you're interested in is most likely also interested in that quality woman. So getting overly upset is going to make you seem childish, immature, and out of control. In other words, unattractive and not the kind of woman that quality men tend to go for. Quality attracts quality. If you want great relationships, you've got to be great, and in this case, that means remaining calm and steering away from condemnation. This isn't about buttoning your lip or trying to sugarcoat the situation. If you got a problem, by all means, be open about it. However, before committing yourself to being emotionally offended, my suggestion is that make you the effort to understand why he's behaving in a certain way. Here's an idea. Try asking him to explain why he's acting that way. Give him the chance to explain himself. You might be pleasantly surprised. At the least, you have given him the chance to correct his behavior without automatically resorting to emotional upset and hurt feelings. Number 6. Don't laugh with your friends about how illogical and dumb guys are. This is a major attraction killer. It's just plain bad from to poke fun at guys for being different to women. And it also feeds the tendency to rely on stereotype to explain the sexes and build a sense of superiority. Needless to say, this will do nothing but create a sense of emotional and psychological segregation and will do nothing to build up your attraction. As I already said, men and women are inherently different. Don't expect men to act like we do. And when they do act differently, give them the benefit of doubt and don't make fun. Just talk to him about your expectations and he'll let you know whether he can meet those expectations or not. Number 7, be flexible. There are a lot of times when men and women just flat out disagree. Our gender differences are responsible for a lot of these rights of opinions, and sometimes the disagreements can get ugly. What I'm suggesting here is that men, just like women, want to be understood and appreciated. Sometimes men will not live up to your expectations or ideals. I found that often women have give me one second. Women have these interior sets of ideals that they hope the man in their life will live up to. Sometimes he will be found lacking. It's practically inevitable. But perhaps instead of feeling shortchanged and upset, you might like to experiment with just being a little more flexible with those ideals of yours. It might be appropriate for you to share your hopes and ideals with your man, and if you don't feel that you can articulate them to him, maybe you should ask yourself, why is that? Is it because you know deep down that those ideals are unrealistic? Try just loosening up your values a little bit. You'll probably be much happier, and when you're happy, the men in your life will be happy too. Number 8. Don't always be available. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about keeping your priorities straight and having the self-respect and the passion for your own life. That's all part of being a desirable woman. Here is here is what often happens to the first flush. Plenty of women start off playing hard to get, and when they're into the initial stages of dating game, even if they don't have a whole heck of a lot going on in their lives, other than the potential new boyfriend, they make a point of acting as though they do. They screen their calls, they wait a day or two before returning his calls, they go out on girls' nights to which he's not invited, and they talk enthusiastically about all the other great things they have going on in their lives. Then once again, gets even a teensy but committed, the boundaries come down and the reality is unleashed. And she needs up being a lot more available than the guy had actually bargained for. This great independent woman that he thought he was dating has suddenly vanished now when all that is left is dependent, needy girl who wants to spend an awful lot of time with him. This is a major reason why I do not advocate the playing of games when it comes to men and dating. It might attract the men in the first place, but over time it's simply not sustainable, and when the curtains come down, that's when he'll see you've been using tricks to get him and he'll be out of there. So you don't have to become completely unavailable. However, it pays not to underestimate the simple power of taking a couple nights a week to do your own stuff. This prevents things feeling flat and stale. It'll energize and revitalize both of you, and it'll give you some much needed time. Number 9. Talk about yourself sometimes. Don't always wait to be asked questions. Many of my female friends moan that their dates are constantly talking about themselves. However, I know for a fact that a great deal of women assume the role of the questionnaire without even meaning to it. A lot of women, it's a sign of affection and caring to ask the other person lots of questions about themselves and to get them to open up this way. Men, on the other hand, do not do this. They don't need to barter questions back and forth. If they ask the question, they'll view it as a sign that you want to hear more about them. In this way, the conversation can rapidly become one-sided. In your own interactions with men, you'll get a lot more airtime if you just come on out and talk about yourself without waiting to be asked. This shows how gutsy, confident, and that above all, you value yourself. You're not waiting for his approval or validation. In addition, it will prevent you from getting frustrated. Nobody likes to be in a conversation where it's all one-sided, so taking control by yourself. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at why men are attracted to women, some of the juiciest secrets for making a man want you. Thank you for watching.